And in your BZEDGE, we train prospective customers on in-depth Excel analytics, Power BI, financial modeling, and MySQL. So in your BZEDGE, we actually learn from experienced trainers and with personalized teaching styles with ongoing support to assist you even after your training is over. So in MHS Analytics, the partner company of your business based in Canada, it also covers customers outside Nigeria, customers who prefer to deal with foreign companies. So this is the registered Canadian company. And for the speaker of today is Hakim Anibi. Hakim is a certified data analyst, and he has years of experience in using data analytics tools like Microsoft Excel, Power BI, and SQL. He's very proficient in data mining and statistical analysis. So I'll be posting his LinkedIn handle out so you can connect with him if you want to at the comment section of the um of the chats. Okay, so Hakim, over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Brian. Just can everyone confirm they can hear me clearly? And please can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. So today's topic is going to be we'll be exploring new exciting functions in Microsoft Excel. So we have several new functions that have been added to Microsoft Excel lately. You have to roll, to call, take, drop, text split, text before, text after, image, VStack, HStack, and so on. Time has gone already, so let's just dive right into demo. So the very first function I'm going to be exploring is the to call function. So what the to call function does is that it returns the value in a table or an array in just one column. So to do that, we call out the function to call. Open our brackets. Then we'll select the array that we want to use. This is our array. And we all know that in Excel, any parameter that is in a square bracket is optional. So we'll just be trying the to call function as it is just by default. So let's see what we're going to have. So it has returned the name of players in all these
So
teams in
sorry,
team A.
Hakim, you're still showing your PowerPoint slide.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe you can share your entire screen.
Sorry, can you see my screen now? Can you see
Yes, we
my
can see
Excel
it.
screen? Okay,
Yes, we
okay,
can see it.
let me just start again. All right, so this is our table that we're going to be using. And then the very first thing we're going to be doing is to call out the function, which is to call. Then the very first parameter says we should select the array that we want to use. We're going to select the array. And we all know that in Excel, any parameter that is in square brackets means it is optional. So we're just going to be trying the to call function to see what it brings for us by default. So close this function and then click on enter. So we can see that it has returned the names of all players in each teams, in team A, in team B, team C, and also team D. But there is something we'll notice, and it's the fact that we have 0 here. Okay, we have this error from our table, and we don't have anything like 0 in this particular table. So we are going to explore the second parameter, which is it's called to call. We select our array again. Then the next function is the ignore. So the next parameter is the ignore parameter. So if you select 0, which is by default, we are still going to get these results that we have in the very first column, the to call column. Then if we ignore blanks, which is 1, Let's see what will happen. Let's close our brackets and press enter. Okay, so we've actually ignored this particular empty cell that we have in team D. So it has returned all names of players, but we are still having this error over here. So you can also use this particular ignore parameter to ignore both the error that we have and also the blank space. So let's just go back to the parameter. So we have the ignore. So we're going to choose this ignore blanks and errors, which is 3. Then we close the parameter. And here we go. You can see Williams, Musa, Mendy, Hakimi, Yobo, and so on. So we can also scan the array in 2 different methods. We can scan it by row and we can scan it by column. So what this means basically is just that when the results we get is either going to be arranged following this row pattern, or is going to be arranged following the column pattern. So let's try the row pattern. Let's see what you're going to get. So to call again our array. So we want to ignore both blanks and errors. Then now we want to scan by row. That means the results you're going to be getting is going to be Williams, Musa, Mendy. Then to go to the next row, pick Hakimi, Yobo, Main, and so on like that. So let's select by row, which is by default. Close the brackets and hit enter. So you can see, looking at the format of the results, you can see we have Williams, which is the first guy in team A. Then in team B, we have Musa, who is the second guy in our row. Now let's try the scanning by column. To call, we'll pick our array. I want to ignore both blanks and errors. So now I want to scan by column. This is true. Close brackets, hit enter. Then we can see the pattern has actually changed. So we are having all players in team A: Williams, Hakimi, Victor, Onana, Rashford. Looking at this, then it moves to the next column, which is the team B. And we have Musa, Yobo, Okocha, Victor, Mendy, and so on. Then it moves to team C. We have Mendy also. So we can actually incorporate the unique function just to get just unique names of players in the 4 teams. So we can say unique. So what unique does is just that in our results and give us the very unique values. So we can say to call again. So it's more like you're embedding the to call function in the unique function. So we select our array again. We want to ignore both blanks and errors. So let's scan by column. Okay. So scanning and using the unique function, you can see it has removed all duplicates. So you can have just one Mendy, I think one Victor also. We have 2 Victors. This is one and this is the other one. Okay. So you can see it has removed all duplicates and it has returned just the unique values for us. So that is how the to call function works in Excel. So let's move to the second function, which is called to row. So what to row does is quite similar to call, but it returns off all values in a table or an array in just one row. You know, in to call, it returns in just one column, but in to row, it returns in just one row. So let's try the very first. You can also scan by row and you can scan by column in this to row function also. So to row, we select the array. Okay, we don't have duplicates or we don't have any blanks or any errors in this particular array. So you can just ignore this particular parameter, then go to scan by column. So this time around, we want to scan by row, which means our result is going to be having Williams, Musa by each row, then Hakimi, Yobo, Victor, Okocha, and so on. So those are brackets. Then enter. You can see Williams, Musa. Then you can also do it by column. We have to row our array, ignore, then I'll scan by column. And that is it. So we have Williams, Hakimi, Victor, just like that particular format. So next function is the choose call function. So what choose call function does basically, just as the name implies, is just to choose particular columns that you need from a very large table sometimes. So to do this also, we call out a function, which is choose column, then the array we want to choose from. So now we can choose the column numbers that we want. So looking at this table now, we have just 5 columns. So we want the products column, which is the very first column. We have, okay, so we are going to be choosing column 1 because we want the products column. And also we want the last column, which is the total column. And that is on column 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's the 4th column. So 4, close our brackets, enter. You can just format this as currency. Okay. So you can see we've chosen just the columns that we need. You can also incorporate the filter function in this particular function also. You can decide we want to see just products that we've made over 3,000 naira on. So you can come over here to tweak it a bit. And call the filter function. Open the brackets. Then our array in the filter function is going to be this selected table. We don't need to choose our array again. So we just want to include this particular column, that's the total column, that is greater than 3,000. So you can close the filter function brackets, and then you can click on enter. Sorry. Okay, filter. This is our array. We want to choose for it to include total that is greater than 3,000. Close the brackets. Then, okay, so that's what I missed. Okay. Click on enter. So you can see just products 717, 703, 715, 742, and 729. I've made a total sale of over 3,000 naira. So that is how the choose column works. You can even choose multiple columns, even more than 2 columns. You can choose everything. So not just to waste time, let's move to choose rows. So in choose rows is quite similar to the choose columns. In this case now we're just choosing some particular rows that we want to see from the old table. So you can decide, okay, this table has been sorted already in accordance to in descending order of the total sales made. So you can decide to choose the best performing product, and that's the very first row. So we call out our choose rows. We select the array. Then the very first column, so the very first row, since our table has been sorted already in descending order, that means from the most from the highest to the lowest. So we can just choose the very first row because that's what we are interested in, the top performing products. So say row 1, and close the bracket and click on enter. You can see it has returned for all records for product 717. So order quantity is 254, unit price is 28 naira, and the total is 7112. We can also select the least performing product. So instead of us saying we want to start counting all the rows, just imagine you have like over a million rows. You want to keep counting all those rows just to choose the least performing product. So we can just choose our arrays. Then in this case, we're going to say -1. So it's going to be counting in reverse in this case. You can close and hit enter. So the least performing product is product 743. So that is how the choose rows work in Excel. So moving on, we move to take. So what take does basically.
Sorry, Hakeem, there's a question for you. There's a question for you on the chat box.
Oh, sorry. I will try to zoom whenever I'm typing. Maybe that'll be better. Oh, I'm sorry, Paul. Do you mean in your own particular Excel, or you can't see what I'm typing? Paul, are you there? Oh, in mine. Oh, sorry. I will zoom and make it better. Thank you. So take. So what take does basically is that it returns just a particular number of rows or number of columns that we want to see in our results. So now we can say we want to see just the top 3 best performing products. I'll say take. Then we'll choose the whole array. Then we can take the top 3 rows, and then by default it's going to return back all the columns. So it has returned all records for the top 3 best performing products. One other thing we can do is that we can choose, in case you want to see like just so something about take that makes it different from choose columns is that in choose columns, you're just going to choose those particular columns that we want. But in take, we're just going to specify that we want to see maybe the first 2 columns or the last 2 columns. In this take now, we don't specify the particular columns that we want. But in choose columns, we specify that I want to see the very first column and maybe the 3rd column and then maybe the fifth column, and so on. But in take, you just specify that once the very first two, or first three, or last two, or last three, and so on. So the basic thing is in take, when you're using the take function, you don't have that opportunity to select the columns that you want, compared to how you can do it in choose column. So one other thing we can do with the take function is that you can choose just maybe the last two columns and not just all columns. You can say take, so this time around we want to see just the first two columns, that's the product ID and order quantity. So say take, then the array, so we want to see the top 3 rows, and also
Hey,
we want to see
sorry,
the first.
sorry,
All right.
Hakeem. I think what he's trying to complain about is the when you type out, like the formulas,
Yeah.
it shows you like particular statements. Like for example, if there are like 3 conditions to meet,
Okay.
do you get like it's not coming out on the from your screen. I don't know whether there's anything you can do about
Sorry,
that.
can you see it like this currently?
No, I can't see it actually.
Wow.
I've noticed it
Let
for a
me
while, sure,
try
but I don't know if
let me,
there's
let me
anything you
try
can do
sharing
about it.
again.
Okay.
How about now? Can you see the IntelliSense?
Yes, yes, yes. It's better now. I can see it.
Paul, can you also confirm from your end?
Yes, he has confirmed.
All right, all right, all right. So once choose the 3 best performing products and just the very first 2 columns, that's the product ID and the order quantity. So we choose the array, and then we want to see the top 3 best performing products. So 3 rows, and then we want to see just the first 2 columns, that's the product ID and order quantity. Then 2, close the brackets, hit enter. So here we go. So for product ID, for product 713, we have over 200, we have 254 orders for that particular product, and so on like that. At the same time, we can also do for the 3 worst performing products, just the same way we did in choose row and choose columns. So say take, we choose the arrays. Then in this case, now it's going to be -3 instead of the normal +3. Then we want all columns. You can just leave that blank, and there we go. So it has returned the top 3 worst performing products for us. So I want us to actually try and embed and also use that filter function that we used earlier in this case. So we want to see the top 3 best performing products with unit price that is less than 10 naira. So say take, then our array is going to be a filtered array. We choose our arrays. So we want it to include unit price that is less than 10 naira. You can close the filter function brackets. And then in this case now, we know using this filter function now, it's going to filter the whole table for us. It's going to bring out just records or results for products with less than 10 naira unit price. So in this particular results now, we want just 3 best performing products. So choose 3. If you still want all columns, you can just ignore that, close the brackets, and then hit enter. So you have the top 3 best performing products with unit price less than 10 naira. So let's move to the drop function. So what the drop function does basically is just like an opposite of take. So we want to drop all other results. This is what we want to see. So that is how this one works. They drop. Select array. So now it's now asking us how many rows do you want to drop? You can say we want to drop if you are looking at 3 best performing products, say -3, want all columns, you can just ignore that. Oh, sorry, should be +3. Yeah, I think I got the stuff wrong. So we can actually drop, let's just assume we want to drop the 3 worst performing products. I want to drop the 3 worst performing products. So in this case now, because we want to drop the 3 worst performing products, we choose -3 over here. And then it has removed these 3 products for us, and then it has returned the remaining products for us. So we can move to text split. So text split is like an advanced, I don't know if you know this left, mid, right function that we use in Excel. Or sorry, text split. Text split is I mixed it up. Text split is like an alternative to the text to column function that we have, where we want to separate a particular value that we have in our columns. But this is more powerful, it's more dynamic compared to the regular text to column. So we can just do a very basic example. Say text split. Then you can choose the text you want to split, which is the full name. So all we want is just the first name and the last name. You're going to choose the column delimiter. In this case, it's a space. So here's the space. Close the quotes, close the brackets, and then hit enter. So it has actually separated the full name into the first name and the last name. You can just drag down. And then we have that particular one. So moving on to this so this is something that is quite nice about text split that makes it a bit more powerful than text to column. So you can actually, in case we have like a column that has multiple delimiters. So in this very first row now, you can see they used commas to separate the courses. And then in the last one, they used hyphens. So we can just do that in a go. You can say text split. You can choose the column. Now, instead of choosing just one column delimiter, you can choose all delimiters that we can see or that we have in our data. So to do that, you open a curly bracket. And then the very first column delimiter that we have here is the comma. Then we choose the next delimiter. And please ensure it is quoted. The next parameter is so the next delimiter rather is the hyphen. So we choose the hyphen also. Close the quotes. Then close the curly brackets. Close the brackets. And then hit enter. So we can just drag down, and then here we go. But if you notice something in this our Excel and Power BI, you can see we are having some white spaces before Excel and also before Power BI, even in this Oracle also. So we can just embed our formula using the trim function. So what the trim function does is that it removes white spaces in our data. Let's close this bracket. Hit enter and drag down again. And then that has been fixed. Can't see any white spaces and so on. One other cool thing about using text splits is the fact that you can actually define your own delimiter. So now, in this case, you want just their first name and also their last name. But in this very first full name, you're having Miss before the name, and in the last name, you're having Mr. What we can do is we can create or define our delimiter to text splits. We choose our text. Then the very first delimiter we're going to be defining is the miss. So say miss, the space, here's the quotation. Oh, sorry, this is going to be curly brackets. Please don't forget. So next delimiter is going to be a space. Then we have Mr. also. Mr. space, close the quotation. We close our curly brackets. And then you can hit enter. It will drag down. We actually notice something, and it's the fact that we are having empty spaces or empty cells in these two rows where we defined the delimiter. We can actually go back to our parameters, and then okay, we don't want to use the row delimiter for now, so we don't need it. Put another bracket, sorry, another comma. So there is a parameter here named ignore empty. So in our case now, we're going to choose true because we want it to ignore any empty cells and then fill it with data. So true, then hit enter, and then you can see this now falls under the first name and the last name runs just as we wanted it. Let's drag down, and that has also been fixed. So one other thing we can do with text split is that, okay, now we are having all this in just one row. Meanwhile, we want cities to be in just one column, and then sales amount to be in another column. We can actually achieve this using text splits. So say text splits. Then we choose our text. Then now our column delimiter in this case now is going to be the equal sign because we want London to be under the city column and then 15,000 to be under the sales amount column. And one thing that is separating both of them is the equal sign. So our column delimiter this time around is going to be our equal sign. And don't forget, we want this also to be splitted by rows. So London is going to have his own record. Kano is going to have his own record. Lagos is also going to have his own record. So one thing that is separating these records is the comma. So our row delimiter this time around is going to be the comma. The comma. Okay. You can close the brackets and hit enter. Okay, this one is also having, you can see white spaces in Kano and Lagos. You can just edit this and embed it in the trim function, just like we did earlier. Okay, and here we go. So we've made use of both the row delimiter and the column delimiter. So we can move to text before. So I actually mixed this up a bit earlier. So the text before is quite similar to the left function. I don't know if you are familiar with the left function, but in this case now, okay, let's use that left function. Left. So what left function does is that it actually returns a specified number of characters from a text string. So you can say text, you can select this text, and the number of characters that we want in this particular text is 5. That's Emily. So we do 5 and close our brackets. So we've gotten the first name for Emily. But when we drag down, you can see it's cutting for Austin, for Penelope, and then for Luna is having the comma. But that is not what we want. So there is a function called text before. It's a bit more powerful than the left function. So instead of using number of characters, just like we did in left, this one is going to be using delimiters. So say text before. So this is our text. And also we can choose multiple delimiter in this case. So we open a curly bracket. The very first delimiter is going to be the space. The second delimiter is going to be an hyphen. The third delimiter is going to be a comma. And then our last delimiter is a full stop. So you can close the curly brackets, close the bracket generally, and then hit enter. You can drag down. And then we've extracted the first name from the full name. Or why we want to achieve this by getting, so in this case now we are having first name, middle name, and the last name. But in our case now, all we want is just the first name and the middle name. We don't care about the last name. So you can also use the text before. Text before. Then this is our text. In our case, the delimiter is a space. Then we're going to be using this parameter called instance number. So now we're going to be choosing or selecting, our instance number is going to be 2. And that is just basically telling Excel that we want all the text that is before the second delimiter. You know, we are using the space delimiter in this case now. So Excel will go look at the very first delimiter, which is after Mandolin. Then it goes to the second delimiter, which is after Walker. And then it's going to return Mandolin Walker for us. So let's close this bracket and hit enter. So you have Mandolin Walker. But what we really want is, we want the first name to be in the first name column, and we want the middle name to be in another column. So you can actually embed this text before formula that we've written in text split. So to embed it, we say text split. So our text is going to be this text before, and it's going to be that Mandalay Walker. And then our delimiter in Mandalay Walker is going to be a space. And we can close the bracket for text splits. And then that splitted that results for us into the first name and the last name. We can drag down. And then here we go. So the next function is the text after function. So basically, this is just quite similar to text before, but now it's going to be choosing the text after the delimiter. And this is an alternative to characters, right? Text. You can see number of characters here is 4 or 5, let's say 5. So it has returned Davis, but you can see this is not what we want. So an alternative to this write function is a text after function. So text after, select the text. And also here we have multiple delimiters. The very first one is going to be space, then an hyphen, the next one is a comma, then we have a full stop. Now close the curly bracket, close the bracket for text after function, and hit enter. So when we drag down, we can have their last names. So just like we did in text before, where we use text splits and also text before. So in this case, we're going to be using text after and also the text split function. So because what we want in this case is the middle name and the last name. So we don't care about the very first name in this case. So say text split. Then our text here is going to be text after. So this is our text. The limiter is space. And also the instance number in this case is going to be 1. So what we are telling Excel is after this very first delimiter, return the rest of the distance to me, of the result to me. So instance number is 1. We can close the brackets for text after. Now we are back to the text split, and then you'll be using the text. So you are going to be using the space delimiter. Close brackets. And then we have our middle name for Walker Vic and others also. So you have Ali, Rogers, Jones. So that's text after. So let's move to image. This one is quite interesting. So there's a function called image. So we can actually get an image from the web and then insert it into a cell. So in our case now, I've actually gotten this particular, what's it called? This link is the Nigeria, it actually goes to, it takes you to the Nigerian flag. So our source here is going to be, let's copy this. And then image, the source has to be quoted, double quotes. Then we close our quotes, we close the whole bracket, and then okay. So you can see we have the Nigerian flag. So you can do the same thing for France. This link takes you directly to the picture of the France flag. Come again, image, source. And then we have for France. There's actually another way to do this, even without you stressing yourself. Although this is not really a new feature, but then let's look for an alternative. So you can come to data. We can select all our country names that we have here and come to this ribbon. Choose geography, and then we can come to this symbol that we have here, which says insert data. So clicking on this, we can actually get even much more than the flag that we want. We can get other data that we need. But for this case, all we want is our flag. So come here and choose image. And then it populates the image of these countries for us. We can even get more than just the flag. We can choose maybe the currency code, euro, currency code. Sorry, I want the currency code. We have Nigerian naira, Europe, and Canadian dollars. And we have even more options. It's actually connected to the internet, so it uses the internet and all. So it gives you like a verified stuff. So you can see birth rates, armed forces size, and much more like that. So moving on, there's another feature that we can use to get image. So this is quite new actually. You can go to insert. When it comes to illustration, take pictures. Then you can see place a picture in a cell. I want to choose from this device. I want to choose from desktop. So I want to choose Nigeria. And then it comes into the cell. And you can even enlarge it to place it over the cell. It's quite large. Let's just strip it back. So you can just use this particular image icon. So that's for image. So we can move to data from picture. So we can actually get data from a particular picture. So instead of us seeing a picture and then we are trying to type out all the data that we have in that particular picture, we can come to insert it from data, get data from other sources, from a picture to a picture from a file. Okay, so I have this particular screenshot and insert. Then on this left, sorry, this right pane, you can see it's analyzing the image that we imported. So it can tell us, so what it's telling us now is to review this particular data that it wants to insert into our worksheet. So you can just check this and say, okay, this is what we want. We can accept. Then insert data is asking us, we are responsible for validating the accuracy of all data. Yes, insert data. And then here we go. So we inserted that particular data from the picture. So, okay, let's just move a bit faster. So we have VStack. So what VStack does basically is that it appends tables or arrays, just like how we do in Power Query that we have to append queries. You can actually do that here using VStack. So it's called vertical stack. Then the very first array is this Kano sales and comma. And the second array is the Abuja sales. We want everything to just be in one table. You can close the brackets, hit enter. So you can see it has populated both tables for us. It has matched both, or sorry, appended both tables for us in just one table. Let's see. So even if you add a particular, because this is a table actually, so even if this table gets updated, let's say sales ID 105, you can see it has updated here also. Same thing happens to this Abuja sales. Let's say sales 106. It keeps updating like that. You can see it's updating immediately. But I've quantity 10, it has updated. So that's how the VStack works. So the HStack is like the opposite of VStack, vertical, horizontal. So what this one does is just place them side by side. You can just see HStack. So select the very first array, select the second array, those are brackets, then as merged. It's just like the merge queries that we have in Power Query. But in this case, you can't really choose the particular what's it called, columns and rows, just like we can do in Power Query. So let's move to wrap rows. So what wrap rows does is just like an opposite of to call. So we can if we recall, we said to call this very first function. So what this one does is that it returns the data in a particular table in just one column. But in wrap row, it's just like a reversed version of it. So this one actually returns the data in a column. It's probably just categorize them or just group them. So we have this list of, let's say, employees, and we then want to divide them into like 3 teams. So you can use the wrap row function to call out our wrap rows. Then vector is just like the array or the distance you want to use. In our case, we want to use the employee names. And then this wrap count is just telling us how many columns we want to divide these names or this array into. So in our case now, we are dividing them into just 3 teams. So choose 3, then close the bracket, and then hit enter. So the very last function we're going to be looking at is the wrap call. So the wrap call is just an alternative or a reversed version of to row. If you recall, we said to row returns all the data in a particular table or array in just one row. So this one returns all the data in what's it called, in a row into columns. So now we want the city, which is Kano, Lagos, and Kano, London, Lagos, and Kano in one column, and then probably total sales in another column. So say wrap call. So this is our vector, this is our array, and then we're going to be using 2, so 3 this time around, 3 rows. So 3 rows, and then we have London, Lagos, Kano, and their respective sales. So those are the, so we've come to an end of this particular topic. I'm sorry, does anyone have any questions? Thank you very much, Paul. In case there are any other questions.
All right, thank you very much, Hakim. That was a very interesting section. Um, I think we've come to
Thank
the
you very
end of
much,
this.
Brian.
I think we've come to the end of the section. So please ask your questions while you're at that. Um, I'm going to share a link. Like, if you have a potential speaker for a webinar for this webinar section, as you can see, it's like familiar faces we are used to seeing week in, week out. So we can just invite them, or we ourselves can actually do that by sharing them the link to the form. All right. So then we can also then, like, the video of this particular section will be posted on YouTube. So we'll be able to see it maybe by Monday. It's going to be uploaded as soon as possible, but at least by Monday it's going to be there. So no, there will be no Power BI section today. All right. So all right. So thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Hakim, for giving us this nice presentation. Until
Yeah,
next
it's my
week.
pleasure.
All right, take care.